it's not easy to be away from your family and your job, the things you've got going on in your life for 2 weeks at a time. We certainly didn't expect it would be this long, but nonetheless, here we are. And as we come to a close, whatever your verdict is in this case, I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank people of Cobb County. People in this courthouse have been incredibly gracious to us. And in Greene County, we want to thank you for allowing us to come up here and try this case. There are liars, and then there are liars. There are liars I wouldn't want to leave my purse in the room with. And then there are the people that would come in here and try to suggest to you that this was a person picked out by Sherry West on the day of the shooting with his check mark. You're the jurors, and I've never felt the need to say so much in closing argument, and the judge is going to charge you on what law is. What the lawyers say is not evidence. The lawyers say is not evidence. The exhibits are evidence. You've seen all the exhibits and evidence here. What the witnesses from the stand say is evidence. And if you'll call way back to the first of the trial, the first detective that testified, Angela Smith, with the Brunswick Police Department, she told you she didn't show this to Sherry West on the day of shooting. She showed little individual pictures, and she had no idea where this check mark came from. It's one thing for a 15-year-old to get in trouble and get caught, and the police to say, wait a minute now, that's not right, go back. We got something here, you're not telling the truth. It's one thing for them to come in here and admit that they've lied, but they're on video, this witness said this, you've been confronted, admit they lied, but they're telling the truth. Now, that's one level of credibility. It's another level of credibility to have 7 years of higher education and to come into this courtroom and try to convince you that an officer's lying when he tells you that 22 Magnum bullets don't fit a .22 caliber pistol. Sometimes you hear little things come out in trial and you write them down because they just kind of fit. One of the witnesses said, try to twist what I'm saying. It's easy to twist what someone's saying when they don't have a place to stay at night, and they might get confused as whether they were at Wolf Street or Hopkins Homes, and they didn't have any clothes to go to school, and they can't remember that, so they lie about that. And it's another thing to take a 15-year-old's 97-page transcript where he's interviewed by the police the day after he witnesses a murder and pick little bits out and grill him about whether he's sure or he's pretty sure. Different level of credibility. And we don't pick the witnesses in the case. A lot of us it's hard to understand what's in the mind of a 15-year-old that doesn't have clothes to wear to school. Or a 15-year-old that has just witnessed a murder. It's hard to understand what might be in their mind sometimes. But it's equally disturbing, maybe more so disturbing, to suggest some of the things that have been suggested in this case without the barest amount of proof. And that's what we're here about. We're about the evidence. We're not about theories. We're not about what might have happened. We're here about what actually did happen. I expect that when you go back into that jury room, you'll want to talk about what happened on that day. And I want to recall your memory, because this has been such a long trial, of some of the actual facts that came out. And if you get back there and y'all start talking about it, I know a lot of you have taken notes. What I say is not evidence. I'm just a lawyer. You know about lawyers. So if your note's different from what I say, go with your notes. You, the jury, decide the facts in this case. It's not the theories, it's not the speculation, it's not the things we throw out there in muddy waters. It's what you, the jury, decide the facts are. You are the judge and the jury in this case as to the facts. The judge will tell you what the law is, but the judge doesn't even get to decide what the facts are. That's you. And while we have an imperfect system, and while this has been a painful process, there's no higher honor that you can give to your country, to your state, to your family, than serving as a juror other than military service. So I want to talk a little bit about the facts in this case. And again, you know what the facts are because you've heard it the last 2 weeks. So if I'm off on something, you hold me to what you remember, your memory. And let's talk about what we know, what we absolutely know. And if I tell you something and you don't absolutely know it, strike it off your list. Jackie's wrong about that. She's just being a lawyer. And what we absolutely know from the evidence in this case, uncontroverted, is that on the morning of March the 21st, Thursday, Marquise Elkins walked Athena King to school, and she signed in at 8:45. What academy? This is a sign-in sheet. She testified. He walked her to school, Glen Academy. It's right down there in South Brunswick. There's a map around the front. And what we absolutely know to be true is that Marquise Elkins is on video at 8:51 in the morning on March the 21st. There's a timestamp on this. Officer Moore testified that he downloaded this from Glen Villa on Monday. Now, Mr. Lockwood told you their investigation stopped on March the 22nd, the Friday, when they arrested Marquise. They shut it down and put a roof on the house. So 3 days later, on that Monday, Officer Moore is over at Glen Villa downloading video that they've not been able to look at yet. And he testified to you that he looked at over 50 hours of video of this case. So after they'd already put the roof on the house, he found this. And the meeting that never took place, that Dominic Blaine lied and made up about, happened at 8:53:46. You can see the two of them in the back, standing together. I don't know how much more contact they had that day, but we know that Dominic Blaine told us the truth because here they are on video. 8:53. We know at 9:18, so that exhibit right here, we got a shot in evidence of the officer's patrol car when he pulls in and catches a glimpse on the corner of Sherry West standing there with her baby and Mr. Van Eden at the corner. They've called out around 9:15 that the baby's been shot. We know that without a doubt. We also know that based on the evidence from Sherry, based on the video, that Sherry had walked to the post office a few minutes before 9, and you see her leaving a few minutes before 9 that week. Absolutely. You know, it's on video. See, because memory is faulty. Memory is not a videotape, but videotape is a videotape. We know that. We know that at 10 o'clock in the morning, according to Savannah Bowen. Remember Savannah Bowen? A little girl that spent the night at, she told you, 1620 and a half MLK. Keys that were found in Marquise Elkins' pocket when he was arrested on the phone day. She spent the night at 1620 and a half MLK, Kiki's house. She spent the night there with him. He woke up that morning. She stayed in bed. He came back around 10. She says they go to Rosby's, which is a convenience store, and they buy something to eat. Well, lo and behold, there he is. And Officer Moore, I believe, testified this was 10 minutes off, so according to his testimony, it would be actually about 10:14 in the morning. Rosby's convenience store. This man has on a white shirt. This man has on a red shirt. You see the chain. The chain Sherry described that morning when she was acting bizarre, when she had just watched the baby get shot, when she had been shot in the leg, when she was taken to the hospital and notified that her baby was shot, when she was accused of killing her baby by the police and grilled for a couple hours at the police department, when she was taken back to the scene to reenact the crime, when she was given an IV and medication at the hospital, when she was acting all bizarre and crying. Here's the box-link chain she described that morning. Officers didn't have this then. They didn't have this then. They didn't have this then. When she described the red shirt on the day of the shooting, when she was acting all crazy and bizarre. Incidentally, does anybody know what the protocol is for how you're supposed to act when you watch your child get shot in the face? I don't know that I've heard any expert testimony about how you're supposed to act. What is normal behavior for someone who's just watched their child be shot? I don't know what that would be. I don't know how I would react. I don't know how anybody would react. Yet we can judge her for everything she did on that day after getting shot in the leg and watching the baby get shot in the leg and accused of shooting her baby. We can judge her being crazy and bizarre. Maybe she's got some mental health issues. Doesn't make her a liar, because we know at least one thing she was right on. We know at least two things she was right on. We know at least three things she was right on. They downloaded this video Monday now. Sherry's talking to them Thursday. The little one had on a black hoodie. I couldn't really see his face. He was real small. He might have been 5 or 6. He might have been a dwarf. Mr. Goff made it a lot bigger deal than what it was when you watched the video. She laughed about that. We know this was Dominic Lane that morning. He said he had on a black sweatshirt. He admitted to hiding the black sweatshirt. So she was at least right about that. We know, absolutely know, that after Marquise Elkins leaves Rosby's that morning, 21st after the baby got been shot. This is them and Rosby's hanging out with the white shirt on after he had the red shirt on, with the chain on, with his girlfriend Savannah, the one who testified that he got it with her that morning at 16:20 and a half, and his aunt. They're hanging out in there. They hang out for a little while. You can see him taking off his jacket. Looks like they're having some conversation, maybe a little horseplay in the convenience store there. You can see him here in this shot. Several minutes, and then they go back to Kiki's house, according to Savannah, and they eat something. That's about 1 hour after the baby's been shot. We know, we absolutely know that, based on video. The video can't conspire with others to make up stories. The video is video. We know that Rosby's never remembered that. I'm not going to go into that again, but you'll remember Rosby's is up north on MLK, very close to McIntyre Court, another apartment complex. And we know that at 11:46 that morning, State's Exhibit 100, we see Marquise Elkins again. State's 101. That's at 11:46. And Rosby's for about 10:30. 11:46:42. He's changed his clothes. He had on a white shirt there. He's got on a red shirt again. Red shirt, white shirt, red shirt. It's 13:30. I believe that's 1:30. We see him again. State 101. And at 13:36, State 102, we see him again. And at 15:14, that's 3:14 in the afternoon, we see him again hanging out with Bud in McIntyre Court. 3 o'clock in the afternoon after he shot a baby in the face. That's what he's doing. Now we know that he was in all of these places. Surely the government hasn't gone and manufactured video 3 days later from Glenville Court, from Glenville Apartments, from McIntyre Court, from Rosby's convenience store. Surely these aren't cracks in the foundation. We know the following day. That at, please by the way, all this is going on, hanging around McIntyre Court, getting something to eat at Rosby's. Sherry's in the hospital. She's at the police station getting grilled. They're searching her house. They're searching her purse. They're asking her the hard questions because, hey, you heard Angela Smith say, who shoots a baby in the face? It was hard for us to believe this. Who shoots a baby in the face? So while she's over at the hospital and the police station and the crime scene doing the reenactment, we're hanging out at McIntyre Court and we're getting something to eat at Rosby and we're going about our life. Next morning, the 22nd day of March, Friday, at 9:56 a.m., if you'll recall, Investigator Moore told you that this right here, the second canopy here, is video of the front of McIntyre Court, apartment 71. That's Danielle Williams' apartment, apartment 71. You'll see a figure in dark, a dark figure right outside that apartment. 9:56 a.m. $9.55. When the detectives testified to you that he was arrested. When the detectives testified to you that he was arrested at 56 McIntyre Court, same apartment complex, but different apartment, his sister's apartment. Arrested that morning somewhere around 10:30. Arrested with this in his pockets. 1620 and a half MLK. And 2 of these in his pocket. And subsequent to that, he's now down at the police station getting read his rights and making a statement to the police. $11:58 a.m. They're reading his rights to him. But at 11:48, Mom and sister are standing out in front of the McIntyre Court, apartment 71. 11:48. Section 109, 11:52, Mom and sister. $11:53, Mom and sister down here at the corner of I Street and MLK. I get these shadows down here. $11:54, Willie Merrill's Lincoln leaving the corner. And if you look real close at this photograph, you'll see looks like there's a couple of passengers. Well, I told you that was his car. Now, 10:55 a.m. on Highway 17 going north in Brunswick. 10:55 a.m. I believe Officer Moore told you this was 64 minutes off. So this is right around 12 o'clock. You look real close, you'll see what it looks like that same Lincoln going north on Highway 17. And 9 minutes later, the Lincoln coming back south. Now, Willie Merrill's faulty memory seems to be confirmed by some video discussed. We know that's what happened. The timeline in this case. We absolutely know that. We don't have to worry about anybody's memory. It's all here on videotape. Now, we don't have a video of the actual shooting of Antonio Santiago, but this is about as close as it gets. Not memory, videotape. Videotape that corroborates, that matches up to what all these liars are telling you. All these liars are telling you what happened in the case, yet everything they're telling you matches up to the video. Everything they're telling you matches up to the evidence collected in the case. On Thursday, Sherry does all that. They tell her, remember in the interview, you know, we got to find out what he wants to do with baby Antonio when he comes back from the GDI after they've done the autopsy. What funeral home do you want us to send him to? Sherry's of the mindset of, you can get my medical records, but is it going to cost me $25 because I don't have $25 to pay if you're going to get my medical records? Remember, they assure that there's not going to be any cost to her. Then the next thing they throw on her after she's, you know, been shot in the leg, watched her baby be shot in the face, told her baby is dead, interviewed at the hospital, interviewed at the station, gone for a walkthrough. The next thing they throw on her, hey, you got to worry about some funeral expenses coming up. You know, we got to find something to do with Antonio. Where do you want us to send Antonio when he comes back from the hospital? So it's not really shocking or bizarre to wonder, if you're Sherry West, where am I going to get the money to pay for Antonio to come back to a funeral? What am I going to do about that? I've got a Gerber life insurance policy. A Gerber life insurance policy that is the motive for me to kill my baby that they've accused me of killing. I've got a $5,000 policy I got when I was at the hospital. Maybe I'll give them a call the next morning and see what I can do to collect on that so I can pay for baby Antonio to come back to the funeral. That's real bizarre. Incidentally, it's little things you don't notice till they come into evidence at trial. Sherry West, that was accused of starving her children, accused of being on crack and drugs, accused of accused of being on mind-altering drugs to the point that she could not see what she saw that morning, accused of being a liar. She apparently, you know, took care of her kid. Dr. Bristol, excellent growth. Happy boy. Good. Plump, happy boy. Excellent growth. Happy boy. This is the bizarre, mentally ill, cracked out, lying mother who wanted to kill her child for the insurance money. This is what the medical records say about the child. And what happens when the police find the two people that did this crime? It's a tale of two different people, two liars. Let's talk about the first liar, the 15-year-old, Dominique Lane. I lied. He admitted to lying. The difference in him and other people is he knows when the jig's up. He knows when he's caught. The same liar that at 7:19 in the morning, the following day, now understand, the following day, the day that they told you, the evening they told you that Sherry West had picked Dominique Lane out of a photo lineup. Here it is. The one the defense has represented to you that Sherry West picked him out the evening of the shooting, the Thursday of the shooting, and put his check mark on there. The one that she did that said that did the shooting, they didn't do anything to snatch him up on Thursday evening, if this is the one that she identified to them on that evening. At 7:19 in the morning, they've hauled in Dominique Lane. And how did they get to Dominique Lane? Through the crackhead, R.G. Brooks, who even R.G. Brooks knows you don't shoot a baby. He might be in jail, he might rob people, he might use crack, but even R.G. Brooks knows you don't shoot a baby. Incidentally, the $1,000 that the Brunswick Police Department paid, the $1,000 that the Wayne County Police Department paid to R.G. Brooks, you don't pay $1,000 for bad information. You might have been on crack, you might have had some beer, but the information certainly checked out. It checked out through Deborah Oakley, it checked out through Diane Moran, it checked out through Joe Lane, and here we are at 7:19 in the morning. Joe Lane is identifying this man in the unduly suggestive black and white lineup. that Shauna strolled the following morning. Marcus Elkins, position number 6. No cross-racial identification problems here. Joe Lane is black. No unduly suggestive green or red shirt. It's black and white. This is the guy that Joe Lane, the 15-year-old that couldn't remember where he had slept the evening before, this is the one he picks out. And at 7:19, they interview his cousin. This is the fella he picks out. And this is what he draws for. Something awfully familiar to what Sherry West, the crazy woman from the day before, had told him. And this is what he draws for him. The cowboy gun. Something awfully familiar, similar to this. To be such a liar, Dominique Lane is awfully accurate. And so they talk to Dominique Lane. He takes them back to the scene, and he shows them a reenactment that Sherry had done one the day before. There's no evidence of any connection whatsoever in this case between Dominique Lane and Sherry West. How does Sherry West do a reenactment and tell the police something very similar to what Dominique Lane tells them the following day of his reenactment? One of the key things I think that was pretty telling, if the government were going to get together and conspire to do a faulty foundation, you know, you would think that their stories would be identical, but they're not. They're a little bit off. One of the key things was Sherry thought she was shot in the ear. And you'll see some photographs. Sherry thought she was shot in the ear. She thought the first shot, he shot at her head and hit her in the ear. There's the injury on her ear in the hospital where they took a picture of her ear that morning. Dominique Lane said there were only 3 shots, one at the ground, one in Sherry's leg. The third one he didn't watch, but the gun was pointed at the baby. If you'll remember, a day or two ago, Miss Anderson, she was in the top of her mom's residence right next door. She said, pop, 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 but not real consecutive. There were 3 pops, but not real consecutive. 3 shots, consistent with what Lane says. Sherry thought she had been shot in the ear. But if you'll remember Dominique's video, he does this. Like somebody's hitting somebody in the head with a pistol. Consistent with Sherry's injuries. I asked Roderick Healy, the investigator that interviewed Dominique, did you tell him about Sherry's injuries before you interviewed him? Did you tell him about the mom and what her injuries were? Did you describe those to him? No. How would Dominique Lane in his reenactment 24 hours later know that? Do that motion like he's knocking upside the head. How would Dominique Lane know that Sherry had thought there were 4 shots, but the neighbor said there were 3? Pop, 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 but not real consecutive, maybe 30 seconds between. Very consistent with what Dominique Lane said. No connection between Dominique Lane and Miss Anderson. Her mother was Miss Knight, if you'll recall. I didn't hear anybody come out with any criminal convictions on her. I didn't hear anybody impeach her. In fact, I think she was their witness. She's part of the grand conspiracy. And so Dominique Lane tells them the story, and they take him back to the scene, and he walks them through this evidence. And then we get to the one thing nobody wants to talk about in this case, is what Mr. Elkins says himself. Certainly, he's not part of the conspiracy to frame himself for murder. Certainly not. You saw him on videotape. You saw the officer talking to him, say, look, Dominique, he's putting it on you. We know you were there. There's video. What does he tell him? I got up around 10. No one was home. I walked at 11:30 to school by myself. At any time were you in Glen Villas? You know there's video down there. At any time were you in Glen Villas? You're on video. Doesn't want to answer that. Looks at the wall. I had to go to school. I ain't got there to see nobody. He doesn't say anything about going to Rosby's convenience store with Savannah. He doesn't say anything about going to Glenvilla that morning, where we know he was because of the video. They don't have memory problems on video, do they? He doesn't say anything about walking Savannah Bowen to school and getting her there around 8:45 to Glen Academy, which is right across from Glenvilla Apartments. He doesn't say anything about that. He lies. Talk about liars, he lies. And we know he's a liar because we got a video. Hey, Dominique Lane, he's putting this thing on you, man. Maybe he was a shooter. Tell us what happened. I wasn't there, man. 10 o'clock in the morning, I woke up. I went to school. You got that video? That's not me on that video. Y'all must have made that up. And the thing, we weren't able to get on video from his statements, but what he tells them when they're booking him in, y'all ain't got shit on me. You ain't got no gun. Y'all ain't got no fingerprints. All y'all got is an acquittal. And the detective smiles at him and he's like, oh, you got the gun? He didn't think they were going to get the gun because, you know, family ain't going to turn me in, man. My sister, my mama, they hiding that gun for me. The gun that Danielle Williams told you about. He hid under her sofa. The video, you see him out there in front of 71 McIntyre Court an hour or so before he's taken into custody. His own cousin, Ronald Elkins, the other convicted fellow, Ronald Elkins, his own cousin, yeah, I unloaded live rounds from a revolver that morning. The 1 in a million gun. The 1 in a million gun that an hour before he's arrested, he hides under a sofa. The 1 in a million gun that his sister and mom show up to go hide. The 1 in a million gun that his cousin unloads. The 1 in a million gun that we see Willie Merrill's car driving north on 17. The 1 in a million gun that we pull out of a saltwater pond off Highway 17 north in Brunswick, exactly where Willie Merrill said they were. The 1 in a million gun. The 1 in a million gun that this bullet found in his pocket at the time he was arrested happens to fit. The 1 in a million gun that a 15-year-old kid calls a cowboy gun and draws out for the detectives. 3 hours. 3 hours before DeMarquis Elkins is taken into custody. 3 hours before his mom and sister drive it up, go retrieve it from under a sofa and drive it up Highway 17 and throw it into a pond. That's the 1 in a million gun. The 1 in a million gun that shoots 8 right twist. That's the bullet that came out of Antonio Santiago's head. 8 right twist. The 1 in a million gun that shot an 8 right twist bullet that came out of Sherry West's leg several weeks later, after they had already put the roof on the Fawcett Foundation. Several weeks later, you heard from Detective Talbert, who watched them in an operating room pull this out of Sherry's leg. He kept his eyes on the bullet while they did what they did at the hospital. He drove it to Savannah, and they took it out, and they tested it, and it's an 8 right twist. The only difference in these two bullets is the type. And you've had two firearms experts that say copper washed, brass washed, very common. Not uncommon for people to have different kind of bullets in the gun. They're both .22s, both 8-right twist. We can't definitively say by science that, yeah, it's the gun, but the facts and circumstances in this case tell you otherwise. The facts and circumstances in the case say, why is mom and sister hiding his gun? Why is he hiding the gun under the sofa an hour before he's arrested? That's the one in a million gun killed in Congress of life. The one in a million gun. And to continue the grand conspiracy, put the roof on the faulty foundation. Incidentally, I think it's important that you know that we've got two agencies now working this case, both the Brunswick Police Department and the Glenn County Police Department. Angela Smith has been doing, you saw her, she was the first detective that testified. She and Captain Dindale, they dealt with Sherry. She talked to Sherry, she did all the interaction with Sherry. Dominique Lang is getting interviewed over here at the county by Investigator No Healy. Two completely different detectives getting these, concocting these very similar stories from both Dominique Lang and Sherry West. To continue the grand conspiracy, they got together, both the Brunswick Police Department, when they showed Sherry West her lineup, and Glenn County Police Department, when they showed Joe Lang and Dominique Lang their lineups. To continue the grand conspiracy, they got together and put together some suggestive lineups. And in the suggestive lineups, they, Sherry West at 1400 hours on Friday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you saw her on video at her house, she picks out this guy as a shooter. If you saw that video, and they want to say that Angela Smith suggested anything to her, watch that video they put in evidence. Nobody wants to identify the wrong person. I agree with her expert on that. She says, I think it's, she says, let me look again. Oh yeah, it's him. Bushy eyebrows, full lips, thick curly hair. And then we get another detective into the conspiracy. Another detective that's working another case that sounds awfully familiar with a revolver, a robbery, an attempted robbery, and a small caliber gun. We bring Detective Blackstock in the mix to the conspiracy. He's working a completely different case. And Detective Blackstock doesn't even go and do the witness photo lineup because he can't speak Spanish. He gets Galdamez to do it. Jose Galdamez, who you heard from, he speaks Spanish, so he sends him over to the church on a Friday night. And to continue the conspiracy, we get these suggestive lineups, and we get the pastor pick out the same guy. And we get his friend Clever to pick out the same guy. Now we're 4 or 5 detectives into the conspiracy. 2 different departments. 2 different cases. But videotape doesn't lie. There we go. March 11th, 10 days before baby Antonio was shot, we're back at McIntyre Court at 7:10 in the evening. Right around the time the preacher is shot, Alex Flores, we've got 2 boys coming by on a bicycle, not far from where he's shot. Dante Jackson told you that's him on the handlebars in the blue shirt and the blue cap. He lied the first time. He lied the second time. He told you he was afraid. But he finally came off of it because videotape doesn't lie. At 7:12, we see this interaction a fella in a black jacket with some white buttons. Can't see it real close. But not long from there, you see, at 713, this fella here. His jacket. See the red shirt? Seen the red shirt before? Hanging out with my buddy the day of the murder at 3:14 in the afternoon when I'm supposed to be at school. 10 days earlier, came out in McIntyre Court 3 or 4 minutes after the preacher shot. This is not 7/13/07. Still photo of that frame. Here's 7/13/08. See him there. 7/13/31. He's moving, leaving the area. 7/13/35. He's gone. What happened between 7/13/31 and 17/13/35 in those 4 seconds? 17/13/33 Albany Street. The police are going to the scene and shoot. He's out of it. The guilty plea was none pursued. They're going to respond to the preacher that shot in the alley. Ask yourself if that's the same person that Clever Jimenez and Wilfredo Calix Flores identified to the police 10 days later. He's on video, and they've identified him as this unduly suggestive liar. And now Galvez is in the conspiracy. The memory's faulty. Video's not. You know what he did. You saw him on video, and you know what he said. And you know why he said it. He thought he was going to be okay because he had mom and sister hiding the evidence. The one in the medium gun. They would never find that. But they didn't put the foundation on the house that Friday. On Monday, they're downloading videotape. And on Tuesday morning, they're out there to dive in the pond where they think that the gun is, and they drag it out. The 1 in a million gun that happens to be exactly where mom and sister went, and the splash happened. The 1 in a million gun. Hard to believe somebody would shoot a baby. Hard to believe. So, it must have been Joe. Could have been him. Even though he's on video, it must be Joe. Argie, he was foaming at the mouth, and he likes to rob people. Maybe it was Argie. No, Sherry, now she's on this medication. She acted real crazy for somebody whose baby just got shot in the face, and she got shot in the leg. She said some crazy stuff on tape, and a lot of stuff that, you know, a normal person wouldn't say. No, it's Lewis. It's Lewis. Lewis must have done it. Because, you know, Lewis, he's kind of shady. Lewis must have done it. You know, he was there a few minutes before, and then he went to Walmart, and, you know, there's a few minutes gap there when you shoot him on Walmart, so he must have shot the baby. No, the police did that investigation, and they conspired to set up this man. There's cracks in the foundation. They must have planted this chain on him from the search warrant they did the next day after they had put the roof on the house. That afternoon they were doing search warrants. They must have planted this box-link chain that Sherry described the day before in the room that Savannah told you she had spent the night with. They must have planted the sweatshirt, this red sweatshirt that we found in there that looks awfully similar to the red sweatshirt we see him wearing with the chain 15 minutes before the baby shot in the face. He lied. He and his mama hid the evidence. You lie, you hide, you run. You lie, you hide, you run. You're guilty. What's kind of things are guilty? So if the police did a bad investigation, they conspired to set him up, shut it down on Friday when they got him arrested. They planted this evidence. We got Galdamester to get the Hispanics to ID the wrong person. You know, we got Blackstock to get into the mix and conspire with Galdamester to do that, and Angela Smith, and Roderick Noheely, and Sean Stroll. You conspired to build this faulty house. And we want you to look at all these things it could be instead of the evidence that's in front of you. Instead of the video that's in front of you, instead of the witnesses that came in here and told you the best they could what they knew happened. And yeah, they've got criminal records. And yeah, some of them are homeless. And yeah, some of them have a mom in jail. But they did what they could in this case. Because even they know you don't shoot a baby in the face. Even they know that. There's a reason why the witnesses are who they are in this case. There's a reason why you're hearing from people with criminal records. There's a reason why you're hearing from 15-year-old kids that don't have a mom. There's a reason for that. If there's anything about this case that sticks out to me, it's about preying upon the weak. And that's really what we have here. We have a defendant who preyed upon the weak. He preyed upon the weak when he was looking for Mexicans to rob, because he knows lots of times they can't speak English. They're afraid. They might be here illegally. They may not even report it to the police. So we're going to prey upon them because they're weak. They're vulnerable. And we can probably get away with it. We can get what we want from them, and we can move on to the next target. And that's what happened when D. Marcus Elkins got the two young boys with him that day, T.J. Stark and Dante Jackson. He had two fellas behind him along for a little backup when he robbed the pastor. And that worked out okay for him because somebody got shot and nothing happened. Let's look for some more Mexicans to rob. There might be some down here in South Front. Dominique, you know, I thought you were a Mexican. You got a lighter skin. I thought you were a Mexican. I was going to rob you, Dominique. But I know your people. I know your people. Do you know where any Mexicans are? Have you ever robbed anybody? That's strange. You know where they're staying at. Told him. So they continue on. They don't see any Mexicans that morning. They see something even better. Something even more weak. Something even more vulnerable. A mother and her child. And he had no idea how weak and vulnerable she was because, you know, he didn't know about her medications. He didn't know about her bipolar. He didn't know about her mental health situation. He saw her there with that child, though. And, you know, maybe she should give him a purse. You know? Maybe it's just her fault that she took Ella Street instead of Union Street because there would have been more people on Union Street. It's her fault. She used bad judgment when she did that. She used bad judgment when she didn't go through the housing project located a few blocks away instead of walking to the post office. She used bad judgment when she went down there to use the mail letter. And she used bad judgment when she told him she didn't have any money and she just didn't give him a purse. She used bad judgment. We'll give her that. She's weak. She's vulnerable. She's got a mental health illness. But what he saw that day was a woman with a baby. She'll give me what I want. Because she's got a baby. She's not Mexican, but she's vulnerable. And he went over there and she didn't give it up. Please don't kill my baby. He threatens the baby. Dominique said he threatened the baby. 5, 4, 3. Please don't kill my baby, she says. He's threatening her baby. Same story, 24 hours apart. Same story. She was weak. She used bad judgment. It's her fault. She was on the wrong street. She should have gone to a different place to mail a letter. He preys upon the weak. And that morning, you can't get any more weak than a child asleep in a stroller. Antonio Santiago. Can't get any more weak than that. What was he going to do? He didn't do what he wanted. So he shot him in the face. And let's understand, the gun didn't go off. He didn't drop the gun and it discharged. He pointed that gun right between that baby's eyes. Give me your money or I'm going to shoot your baby. Please don't shoot my baby. Please don't shoot my baby. It's not bam, bam, bam. It's one shot. They're 30 seconds apart, not real consecutive, but there's some time in there. Some time to think with your brain about what your hand is doing, about what you're saying, about the little innocent child sitting in the stroller. Ladies and gentlemen, that's malice. That's what we call malice murder. It's intent. It's an abandoned heart, a malignant heart. The judge will charge you about what that is. But that's what happened there that morning. And the other thing, if you don't believe the police conspired or they did a bad investigation or they shut it down on the 22nd or that, yeah, his daddy's kind of shady, he did it, or that mom, she's real crazy, she must have done it. She shouldn't have been on that street. Or Joe Lane, the kid they pulled up there first thing that morning that identified him, Dominique's cousin, or maybe even Dominique's little brother. Or hey, how about R.G. Brooks? He was foaming at the mouth. If you don't believe that, then you get to the most disturbing, the most unsettling thing about this case that seems to be a theme running through it. It's okay to pray against the weak and exploit their weaknesses. You're illegal in this country, aren't you, Mr. Jimenez? Tell us about your immigration status. Miss West, you're mentally ill, aren't you? Let's exploit those weaknesses, because they're all there. You preyed upon the preacher, the Mexican, preyed upon the baby. Now we're going to pray and exploit the weaknesses of these witnesses. They got criminal records. I wouldn't trust them with my purse in the room. Let's exploit it. We get to this concept of mercy. The most disturbing thing about this case, and you heard it the first day, when Dr. Downs, the pathologist, was on the case, on the stand, if you're going to shoot a baby, Dr. Downs, wouldn't you say that's a merciful killing? To shoot him between the eyes, because, it would happen real quick. And, they probably wouldn't feel a lot of pain. That's just the best way to go out. Don't you think? Anybody that would do that, Dr. Downs, isn't that merciful? Because, what did Antonio really have? His mom was, she's on all these medications. She's bipolar. She's mentally ill. His dad, he's kind of shady, didn't have a job. What kind of future did he have? What kind of life did he have? Wasn't it really just merciful to just go ahead and take him out anyway? Isn't that really what we're saying here? That's the most disturbing thing about all of this case. I'm not going to show you any dead photos, but I'm going to show you this. This is a little healthy, happy baby boy at Christmas. He might not have had much. His mom might have been on food stamps. She might have been disabled, but she did what she could for him. They had a Christmas tree. She entered him in a cute babies contest on the internet, went to her neighbor's house to do that. I don't know what kind of person he would have been. Nobody knows. He got a cake at his birthday. He had a life. He had a life. He might have been mentally ill like his mom. He might have been without work like his dad. He might have been the next Stephen Hawking. Who knows? We don't know. And it's not for us to decide what's merciful. It's not for us to decide what a life's worth. Who can know what a life's worth? But he didn't care. He didn't care. The judge will tell you deliberate intention to unlawfully take away the life. When all of the circumstances of the killing show an abandoned and a malignant heart. I don't know of any other case when the killing of another person, a child, doesn't cry out for malice. And that's what you have here. You have an abandoned heart. Somebody that can't feel on the inside. Somebody that preys upon the weak. And they don't care if they're innocent. They don't care what they're snuffing out. They don't care what they're taking away from the family or from society. They don't care what they're depriving this little kid of what he might have been. That's malice. You'll have the indictment out with you. There are 3 kinds of murder on the charge. One is malice murder. Number 1 is malice murder. Number 2 is felony murder based on an aggravated assault. That means you point a deadly weapon at someone to just talk to you about law. You point a gun at someone and that person dies as a result of that. Whether you intend to kill them or not, that's felony murder. And the third charge on there is felony murder based on a criminal attempt to commit an armed robbery. You know they didn't get the first. You know that Marquis Elkins ran off after he shot the baby with nothing to show for it. Criminal attempt is an underlying felony. It's the basis of felony murder. Counts 2 and 3 are felony murders because you engage in a felony and cause someone's death without any intention to do so. But count 1 is malice murder. That means you intended to kill. That means there was time for somebody, some reason, something in your heart to say, "This is a baby asleep in a stroller." You could find all 3. You can find none. But I would urge you to look at count 1. This case cries out for malice. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 10-minute recess before I start my charges. All rise for the jury.
All rise for the jury.